Lesson 1. Basic Real Estate Vocabulary. Good morning. How can I help you today? Hi. I'm looking for a property to buy in this area. Sure. What type of property are you interested in? Do you want a house, an apartment, or a condominium? I'm interested in a house with a garden. Great. Do you have a specific budget in mind? Yes, my budget is around $500,000. Perfect. I'll show you some listings that fit your criteria. Would you like to schedule a viewing? Yes, I'd love that. What time works best? How about this weekend? We can visit a few properties. That sounds perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. I'll send you the details shortly. Lesson 2. Introduction to the real estate market. Good afternoon. Are you familiar with the real estate market in this area? Not really. I'm new here and would love to know more about the local market conditions. Sure. The market here has been growing steadily. Property values are rising due to high demand and limited supply. Why is the demand so high? The area's excellent schools and job opportunities are attracting many buyers. This makes the housing market quite competitive. That's interesting. Do you think the prices will continue to rise? It's possible, but some experts predict a stabilization in the near future, especially if interest rates increase. So is now a good time to buy? It depends on your goals. If you're looking to invest long-term, it could be a good opportunity before prices go even higher. I see. Thanks for the information. You're welcome. Feel free to ask any more questions about the market or specific properties. Lesson 4. Asking and answering basic questions. What kind of property are you looking for? I'm looking for a house with 3 bedrooms. Do you have a budget in mind? Yes, my budget is around $600,000. That's great. Do you have any specific neighborhoods in mind? I'd prefer a quiet area that's close to schools. I understand. Would you like to buy a newly built house, or are you open to older homes? I'm open to both, but I prefer something move-in ready. Perfect. I'll prepare some listings for you. When would you like to schedule a viewing? How about next Saturday morning? That works. I'll confirm the details and send you a message. Thank you. Lesson 5. Describing property's size. Location. Features. This house is located in a quiet neighborhood and is close to schools and shopping centers. How big is the house? It's 2,500 square feet with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. That's a good size. Does it have a backyard? Yes, it has a large backyard with a deck perfect for outdoor activities. What about parking? It has a 2-car garage and additional parking space in the driveway. That sounds great. Are there any special features inside the house? The kitchen is fully updated with modern appliances, and the living room has a fireplace. Excellent. What's the asking price for this property? The asking price is $550,000. Lesson 6. Explaining contracts and agreements. Now that you've decided on the property, we'll need to go over the purchase agreement. Sure. What's included in the purchase agreement? It outlines the terms and conditions of the sale, including the purchase price, closing date, and any contingencies. What are contingencies? Contingencies are conditions that must be met for the sale to go through, such as financing approval or a home inspection. I see. What happens if the contingencies are not met? If they're not met, you may have the option to cancel the contract without penalty, depending on the terms. That makes sense. What about earnest money? The earnest money is a deposit you pay to show you're serious about purchasing the property. It's usually held in an escrow account until the closing. How much is the deposit usually? It's typically around 1 to 3% of the purchase price. Got it. And when is the closing date? The closing date is usually 30 to 45 days from the signing of the contract, but it can vary depending on the agreement. Thank you for explaining. I feel more comfortable moving forward now. Lesson 8. Scheduling showings and open houses. Hello. I'd like to schedule a showing for the property you're interested in. That sounds great. When is the showing? I have an opening on Thursday at 3 p.m. Does that work for you? Thursday works for me. Will anyone else be viewing the property at the same time? No, this will be a private showing just for you. Perfect. Do you have any open houses scheduled for this weekend? Yes, there's an open house on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'll try to attend the open house as well. Great. I'll send you the details and confirm the showing for Thursday. Lesson 9. Language for negotiation. I'm really interested in this property, but the price seems a bit high. Is there room for negotiation? The price is somewhat negotiable. What price were you considering? I was thinking around $480,000 instead of $500,000. I see. I'll need to check with the seller, but would you be willing to make a formal offer at that price? Yes, I'd be happy to submit an offer of $480,000. Great. I'll present this to the seller and see if they're open to it. We might need to discuss other terms like the closing date or contingencies. I'm flexible with the closing date, but I would like a home inspection before finalizing the deal. That's reasonable. I'll make sure to include that in the offer. Lesson 10. Closing deals and handling objections. Great news. The seller has accepted your offer. We're ready to move forward with the closing process. That's fantastic. What's the next step? First, we'll need to finalize the paperwork and schedule the closing date. Do you have any concerns before we proceed? Actually, I'm a bit concerned about the home inspection. The report mentioned some issues with the roof. I understand. We can discuss this with the seller and request a repair or price reduction to address the issue. That would be helpful. I prefer a repair before we close the deal. I'll communicate that to the seller and see if they're willing to make the repairs. If not, we can negotiate a discount. Thank you. I really want to make sure everything is in good condition before the closing. Absolutely. I'll keep you updated, and once we've resolved this, we can move on to signing the final documents. Perfect. I appreciate your help. You're welcome. We're almost there. Lesson 11. Writing effective listings. I'm preparing a listing for this property. What should I highlight to attract potential buyers? The location is excellent. It's in a quiet neighborhood close to schools and shopping. That's great. I'll definitely mention the convenient location. What about the house itself? The house is newly renovated with a modern kitchen and spacious living room. Perfect. I'll include that. Is there anything else we should add to make the listing more attractive? The backyard is large and perfect for families with children or pets. That's a great point. I'll also note that in the listing. Once I finish writing it, I'll send it to you for approval. Sounds good. Thanks for your help. You're welcome. Lesson 12. Promoting properties. Now that the listing is ready, we need to start promoting the property. Do you have any suggestions on how to market it? I'd like to use social media. I think it's a great way to reach more people. Absolutely. I'll create a post with photos and a virtual tour to share on our social media channels. That sounds great. What other methods do you recommend? We can also list it on real estate websites and run an ad campaign. Additionally, we could schedule an open house to attract local buyers. I like the idea of an open house. How soon can we set that up? We could schedule one for next weekend. I'll handle the advertising and make sure it's widely promoted. Perfect. I'm looking forward to it. I'll make sure everything is in place for a successful promotion. Lesson 13. Understanding cultural differences. I understand you're new to this country. Are there any cultural differences you've noticed in the real estate process? Yes, in my country, it's common for negotiations to be more direct and upfront. Here it seems like people prefer a softer approach. That's a good observation. In some cultures, being direct is seen as efficient, but here it's more common to ease into negotiations. I can help guide you through the process. I appreciate that. I've also noticed that the paperwork here is more detailed than what I'm used to. Yes, the real estate process here tends to be more formal with a lot of legal documents. It's important to understand everything before signing. I'll make sure to review everything carefully. Thanks for the guidance. You're welcome. If you have any other questions about how things work here, feel free to ask. Lesson 14. Building long-term client relationships. It was great working with you on this transaction. I hope we can stay in touch for your future real estate needs. Absolutely. You've been really helpful, and I'll definitely reach out for future transactions. I'm glad to hear that. I also provide regular market updates and homeownership tips through a monthly newsletter. Would you like to receive it? Yes, that would be useful. Please sign me up. Of course. And if you know anyone else looking to buy or sell property, feel free to refer them to me. Sure. I'll be happy to recommend you to friends and family. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Let's stay in touch, and I'll always be here to assist you. I look forward to working with you again in the future. Lesson 15. Handling difficult conversations. I'm frustrated with how long this process is taking. Why is the closing delayed? I completely understand your frustration. The delay is due to a financing issue on the seller's side, but we're working hard to resolve it as quickly as possible. I was hoping to move in by the end of the month. This is really inconvenient. I know this situation is not ideal, and I'm doing everything I can to speed up the process. I'll keep you updated with any new information. Thank you. I just feel like I wasn't fully informed about these potential delays. I apologize for not communicating more clearly. I'll make sure to keep you informed more regularly from now on. I appreciate that. I just want to be sure everything is on track. Absolutely. I'll ensure everything moves forward as smoothly as possible. Lesson 16. Rental request. Residential. Hello. I'd like to list my one-room apartment for rent. Could you help me with that? Of course. Could you provide me with some details about the apartment? For example, what's the monthly rent, deposit, and other conditions you'd like to set? The monthly rent is 600,000 KRW, and the deposit is 5 million KRW. It's a small apartment, so I think these rates are fair for the area. Also, I'd like a 1-year contract. That sounds reasonable. We can advertise the apartment at those rates. Do you want us to negotiate the rent and deposit if necessary? I'd prefer to keep the rent and deposit as they are. But if the tenant requests a small change, I'm willing to negotiate. Understood. Are there any maintenance fees or additional costs the tenant should be aware of? Yes, there is a maintenance fee of 50,000 KRW per month, which covers water and trash collection. Gas and electricity are separate. Got it. I'll make sure to include that in the listing. One last thing, what are your expectations regarding the real estate commission? I'm aware of the standard commission rates. I'm comfortable paying the usual 0.3% of the contract value when the deal is finalized. That works. We'll get started on marketing your property right away. We'll contact you once we have any potential tenants interested in viewing the apartment. Lesson 17. Conversation regarding a John's property. Hello. I'm looking for a John's property in this area. Could you help me find a suitable place? Of course. Could you tell me more about your budget and preferred location? Sure. My budget for the deposit is around 100 million KRW, and I'd like something near public transportation, preferably close to a subway station. That's a reasonable budget for this area. I have a few properties in mind. Are you looking for a specific size or number of rooms? I'd prefer a 2-bedroom apartment if possible, but I'm open to something smaller as long as it's spacious enough. Understood. I have a couple of 2-bedroom apartments available right now. Lesson 18. Rental request for a commercial space. Hello. I'd like to list my commercial property for rent. Could you assist me with that? Of course. Could you give me some details about the space? For example, what's the monthly rent, deposit, and any other conditions you'd like to set? The monthly rent is 3 million KRW, and the deposit is 30 million KRW. The space is about 100 square meters, and I'm looking for a 2-year contract with the possibility of renewal. That sounds reasonable for this area. Do you have any specific business types you're looking to rent to? Lesson 19. Conversation regarding office building lease. Hello. Our company is looking to lease an office building. We've outgrown our current space and need a larger headquarters. Can you assist us in finding something suitable? Of course. Could you provide me with more details about the type of building you're looking for? For example, what's your budget and preferred location? We'd like to stay within Seoul, preferably in the Gangnam area, but we're open to other business districts. Our budget for the monthly rent is around 20 million KRW, and we're looking for a deposit of no more than 200 million KRW. That's a reasonable budget for Gangnam. Are you looking for a standalone building? Or would you consider office space in a larger complex? We'd prefer a standalone building if possible, but we're open to office space in a building if it meets our needs. We need at least 500 square meters to accommodate our employees and some conference rooms. I understand. I have a couple of properties in mind that might fit your requirements. One is a standalone building in Gangnam with a monthly rent of 19 million KRW and a deposit of 180 million KRW. It's about 520 square meters. The other option is an office space within a building, but it's slightly larger at 550 square meters. The rent is 21 million KRW, and the deposit is 200 million KRW. Both options sound good. Can you tell me more about the condition of the buildings? Are they newly built or recently renovated? The first property is newly built, so everything is in excellent condition. The second property was renovated last year, and it's in great shape as well. Both buildings come with parking spaces, which I believe is an important factor for your company. Yes, parking is definitely important. How many parking spaces are available? The first building comes with 10 parking spaces, while the second one offers 12 parking spaces. That's perfect. I'd like to schedule a viewing for both properties. When can we arrange that? I can arrange viewings this week. Does Wednesday morning work for you? Lesson 20. Communication styles. I've noticed that you prefer to communicate through email. Would you like me to continue sending updates that way? Yes, email works best for me. It's easier to keep track of everything in writing. I completely understand. Some clients prefer phone calls or face-to-face meetings, but I'm happy to adjust to what works best for you. I appreciate that. I find written communication clearer and easier to reference later. That makes sense. I'll make sure to summarize our conversations in emails and keep you updated regularly. Thank you. It's great that you're flexible with different communication styles. Lesson 21. Commercial lease agreement parties. This commercial lease agreement is made and entered into as of date by and between the lessor, landlord, and the lessee tenant. Property. The property subject to this agreement is located at property address, which is a commercial space with approximately square feet of floor area. Lease term. The term of this lease shall begin on start date and end on end date, unless terminated earlier in accordance with the provisions of this agreement. Rent. The monthly rent for the premises shall be rent amount per month, payable on the due date of each month. Security deposit. The tenant shall provide a security deposit in the amount of deposit amount, which shall be held by the landlord and returned in accordance with the terms outlined herein. Special terms. This lease is subject to the following additional terms. The premises shall be used for retail purposes only. Subleasing the property is prohibited without the prior written consent of the landlord. Any renovations or alterations to the property must be approved by the landlord. Lesson 22. Real estate purchase agreement parties. This real estate purchase agreement is made and entered into on date by and between the seller and the buyer. Property. The property to be sold is located at property address and is described as a residential property with approximately square feet and a lot size square feet. Purchase price. The agreed upon purchase price for the property is purchase price, which the buyer shall pay as follows. A down payment of down payment amount, due on down payment date. The remaining balance of remaining amount is due at closing on closing date. Contingencies. This agreement is contingent upon the following conditions being met. The property must pass a home inspection conducted by a licensed inspector. Closing costs. The seller agrees to cover percentage of the closing costs, including title insurance, transfer taxes, and attorney fees. Lesson 23. Letter of intent to sell a building to prospective buyer from building owner subject. Letter of intent to sell commercial building. Dear name. I am writing to express my intent to sell the commercial building located at building address. Below are the key terms and conditions I am proposing for the sale of the building. Purchase price. The proposed purchase price for the property is purchase price. Payment terms. A down payment of down payment amount will be provided at the signing of the purchase agreement. The remaining balance will be paid at closing on closing date. Due diligence. I request a due diligence period of number of days to conduct inspections and review financial records. Special terms. The property shall be sold as is, with no additional renovations by the seller. If these terms are agreeable, we can proceed to formalize the agreement. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. Sincerely, building owner's name. Lesson 24. Letter of intent to purchase a building date to building owner from prospective buyer subject. Letter of intent to purchase commercial building. Dear name. I am writing to formally express my interest in purchasing the commercial building located at building address. Below are the proposed terms and conditions for this transaction. Purchase price. I am offering a purchase price of offered price for the property. Payment terms. A down payment amount will be provided at the signing of the purchase agreement. The remaining balance will be paid at closing on proposed closing date. Due diligence period. I request a due diligence period of number of days to conduct inspections and review all necessary documents. Financing. This offer is contingent upon securing financing with the number of days from the signing of this letter. If these terms are agreeable, I look forward to proceeding with the next steps. Please let me know if you have any questions or require further clarification. Sincerely, prospective buyer's name. Lesson 25. Types of real estate taxes and explanations. Property tax. An annual tax levied on real estate by local governments based on the assessed value of the property. Capital gains tax. A tax on the profit made from selling real estate. The amount depends on the difference between the purchase price and the sale price. Transfer tax. A tax paid by the buyer or seller when ownership of real estate is transferred. Inheritance tax. A tax imposed on heirs when they inherit property. Gift tax. A tax on property given as a gift, often imposed on the recipient. Lesson 26. Corporate establishment/business registration. Choose a business structure. The first step is selecting a business structure, such as a corporation or a limited liability company, LLC. Register the corporation. The business must be registered with the relevant government authorities. Obtain a business registration certificate. This certificate allows the business to operate legally. Apply for a tax identification number. TIN. The business must obtain a TIN for tax filing purposes. Open a business bank account. It's necessary to separate personal and business finances for tax and legal purposes. Lesson 27. Contract cancellation and disputes. Breach of contract. If one party fails to fulfill their obligations, the other party may cancel the contract. Mutual agreement. Contracts can be canceled if both parties agree to terminate the agreement. Contingency clauses. Contracts often include clauses that allow cancellation under specific conditions, such as failed financing or property inspections. Dispute resolution. If a dispute arises, the parties can resolve it through mediation or legal proceedings. Lesson 28. Property disclosure statement. Date. Insert date. Seller/owner. Insert seller's name. Buyer/tenant. Insert buyer or tenant's name. Property address. Insert full property address. This disclosure statement is provided by the seller/owner regarding the condition of the property. The information in this document is based on the seller's knowledge at the time of disclosure. Property condition. Age of the property. Insert age. Roof condition. Insert information. Foundation. Insert information. Plumbing. Insert information. Electrical system. Insert information. HVAC. Insert information. Environmental hazards. Lead-based paint. Yes/no. Asbestos. Yes/no. Mold. Yes/no. Zoning and legal issues. Zoning. Insert zoning information. Legal restrictions. Insert information. Lesson 29. Notice of contract termination date. Insert date. From landlord to tenant. Rental property. Insert property address. Lease agreement date. Insert lease agreement date. This letter serves as formal notice that your lease agreement for the property located at property address is being terminated due to reason for termination. As per our lease agreement dated insert date, you are required to vacate the property by vacate date. Failure to do so will result in legal action. Sincerely, landlord's name. Landlord's contact information. Lesson 30. Notice of rent increase upon lease renewal date. Insert date. From landlord to tenant. Rental property. Insert property address. We are writing to inform you that upon lease renewal, the monthly rent for the property located at property address will be increased to new rent amount, starting from new lease start date. This increase is due to rising property maintenance costs and market conditions. All other terms of the lease will remain the same. Sincerely, landlord's name. Landlord's contact information. Lesson 31. Urban real estate boom in the past year. property prices in major cities like New York, London, and Seoul have risen dramatically, driven by a combination of factors such as low interest rates, urban migration, and a recovering global economy. The sharp increase in demand for urban housing has resulted in significant price hikes, making it more difficult for first-time buyers to enter the market. Experts attribute the price surge to several key factors. First, historically low interest rates have made borrowing more affordable, encouraging more people to take out mortgages. This has intensified competition among buyers, particularly in high-demand metropolitan areas. Second, the pandemic prompted a shift towards remote work, allowing people to move from rural or suburban areas into cities, further driving up demand. Lastly, foreign investors have also played a major role, seeking to capitalize on real estate as a safe investment amidst economic uncertainty. However, this rapid growth has also led to a severe shortage of available properties. In many cases, properties are being sold within days of hitting the market, and bidding wars are becoming increasingly common. Buyers are finding themselves competing not only with other individuals, but also with corporations and institutional investors, who can often outbid them. While this market is advantageous for sellers, it raises concerns about affordability, especially for younger buyers. Many are being priced out of the market entirely, leading some to reconsider homeownership or delay purchasing until market conditions stabilize. Government intervention, such as imposing restrictions on speculative investments, may be needed to curb these trends and make housing more accessible. Lesson 32. The rise of green building trends in recent years. The real estate industry has increasingly shifted toward green building practices, driven by both regulatory pressures and growing consumer demand for environmentally sustainable homes. Sustainable buildings are designed to minimize environmental impact through energy efficiency, water conservation, and the use of renewable materials. The most significant trend in green building is the adoption of energy-efficient technologies. Solar panels, energy-saving appliances, and smart home systems that monitor and reduce energy usage are becoming standard in new developments. These technologies not only lower energy consumption, but also reduce utility costs for homeowners. Another critical aspect of green building is water conservation. Developers are incorporating systems such as rainwater harvesting and greywater recycling, which help reduce the strain on municipal water supplies and lower water bills. Additionally, the use of sustainable materials, such as recycled steel and eco-friendly insulation, is helping to minimize waste and carbon footprints in the construction process. Governments in many countries are encouraging green building through tax incentives and subsidies, recognizing that sustainable construction can help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support environmental goals. Investors and homeowners alike are drawn to the long-term cost savings and increased property values that green buildings provide. As a result, sustainable real estate is no longer a niche market, but a key player in the future of real estate development. Lesson 33. Government regulations to curb real estate speculation. In response to rising property prices and increasing concerns about housing affordability, many governments are implementing new regulations to cool down the housing market. These regulations aim to curb speculative buying and make housing more accessible to average buyers, particularly first-time homeowners. Some of the most significant measures include higher taxes on property sales, limits on the number of properties an individual can own, and stricter loan-to-value (LTV) ratios for mortgages. One of the key changes is the introduction of capital gains taxes on the sale of second or third homes within short holding periods. This measure is designed to reduce speculative activity by discouraging investors from flipping properties for quick profits. In countries like South Korea, the government has imposed additional taxes on multiple homeowners to prevent the hoarding of properties, which exacerbates the housing shortage. Moreover, new lending restrictions are being enforced to limit the amount of borrowing for property purchases. In some regions, buyers are now required to provide larger down payments, especially when purchasing investment properties or second homes. These restrictions aim to prevent over-leveraging and reduce the risk of housing bubbles. While these regulations have sparked debate, with some arguing that they could slow down the real estate market and limit investment, others see them as necessary steps to address the affordability crisis. By reducing speculative demand and encouraging longer-term homeownership, governments hope to create a more stable and equitable housing market for everyone. Lesson 34. Digital innovation in the real estate market. The real estate industry is undergoing a digital transformation, with technology playing an increasingly central role in how properties are marketed, bought, and sold. Tools like virtual reality, VR, blockchain, and artificial intelligence, AI, are revolutionizing the industry, making the buying and selling process more efficient and transparent. Virtual reality is enabling potential buyers to take virtual tours of properties from anywhere in the world, significantly reducing the time and effort needed for physical viewings. For investors, this has opened up the possibility of purchasing properties internationally without the need to travel. VR also allows developers to showcase properties that are still under construction, giving buyers a sense of what the final product will look like. Blockchain technology is transforming the way property transactions are conducted by offering a secure, tamper-proof system for verifying ownership and conducting transactions. It helps reduce the risk of fraud, eliminates the need for intermediaries, and accelerates the process of transferring ownership. Smart contracts powered by blockchain allow for automated agreements between buyers and sellers, minimizing the need for lengthy legal processes. Artificial intelligence is also having a profound impact on real estate, particularly in the areas of property valuation and customer service. AI-driven platforms can analyze vast amounts of data in real time, providing agents and investors with accurate property valuations and market insights. AI chatbots are also becoming common, assisting clients with inquiries and guiding them through the buying process 24/7. As these technologies continue to evolve, the real estate industry is becoming more digital, data-driven, and customer-focused. Agents who embrace these changes are likely to see greater efficiency in their operations and better outcomes for their clients. Lesson 35. Regulatory changes in the real estate market. In response to rising property prices and concerns about housing affordability, governments worldwide are introducing stricter regulations to curb real estate speculation. Speculative investment, where buyers purchase properties primarily for short-term profit, has been identified as a major driver of price inflation in many urban markets. Key measures implemented include higher capital gains taxes on short-term property sales, limits on the number of properties an individual can own, and restrictions on foreign investment. In some regions, governments have also imposed stricter loan-to-value (LTV) ratios, requiring higher down payments for second or third properties to prevent over-leveraging. For instance, in South Korea, the government has raised capital gains taxes significantly for properties sold within 2 years of purchase. In addition, individuals owning more than 2 properties are subject to higher property taxes. These measures aim to discourage speculative buying and stabilize the housing market, making it more accessible to first-time buyers and long-term homeowners. While these regulations have been welcomed by many as a necessary step to prevent a housing bubble, some investors and developers have expressed concerns about market stagnation. They argue that overly restrictive policies could reduce overall market liquidity and investment in new housing projects. However, most experts agree that government intervention is essential to address the affordability crisis and ensure a more balanced and sustainable real estate market in the long term.